practical suggestions are included in this talk. Anyway, according to India's 2010 census, the population of the transgender community was 4.8 percentage, and in 4.8 lakhs. And in 2015, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, said in Parliament that there would be 20 lakhs transgenders. But according to the shallow reports of NGOs like Navodaya, there would be more than 50 lakhs transgenders. It may be visible or invisible community. We know how the parents prepare themselves and their home and surroundings to receive a new baby into their home. Likewise, it is very important to prepare the church for the inclusion of the transgender community. Actually, inclusion is not a bounty or a charity of our church. Article 15 of our Constitution and the very basic commandment of love from our Lord Jesus Christ always stand before us. We are born to do this, we are obliged to do this. There are some issues to consider before the church opens its door to the transgender community. I'll make it in a bullet points. It should change or break down existing fence and perceptions. I personally don't think a rainbow theology is necessary. Certainly good to have a theological foundation, of course. See, as more and more theologies on different doctrines, the church became more and more distant from each other. Theology has never united the churches. Take Eucharist theology. Only because of theology of Eucharist, the church is divided into many fractions. Theology of baptism, theology of salvation, all millions of churches and the groups are made only because of these theological disputes. Okay, anyway, the theology made them more and more fragmented and closed. Therefore, an enlightenment view and the path of modernity is the position to take on this matter that I think. Anyway, it doesn't mean that we don't want theology, no. Rainbow theology is not the emergency thing to be put into action to involve the trans community into the church. See, most of the transgender children are school dropouts. The education of transgender children is stopped midway. What can the church do here? The church has to convince the society that we are with and for this trans world. That's very important. We have meetings, seminars, camps, and more deliberations. But the community should feel that church is always stand with us. Our actions, our decisions, our steps to be manifested that the trans community are welcomed into the church. So we need to take some welcoming steps. So education is one important thing. The church has many schools and institutions, both academic and professional colleges. These people are mostly expelled from their home and they are not able to bear the financial cost of their education at all time. So consider such children as special and ensure their education by providing them with scholarships and all. So their education should be taken care of the church. That is one way we can manifest that we people are always with transgender community and the church is prepared to include our inclusion of. The church needs to start the process of providing employment as a model when employment is not available in other private sector and government institutions. They are behind reservation. The transgender people have filed a case in Supreme Court and waiting for the verdict. But the state government and the central government are not in position of favoring them. Anyway, we are waiting for the verdict finally. So, if reservation is given as 1 in 100, then surely many transgenders can get employment in our church institutions. So, another thing is membership dilemma. It's a very big issue in every church. One thing that is seen in the churches in Kerala, especially where I am working, is that the authorities of the church are afraid to give membership to such people. I have personally encountered some such incidents. There have been incidents in Kerala where applications for transgenders have been rejected by the committee of the church. It's truth. The truth is that still the church is not ready to accept this community into our church. So we need to make our liturgy more powerful. So that my second point is liturgy. Look, there was feminist movement since 2070s, especially in India. But churches all over India still do not allow women to enter the altars, the madbaha of the church, especially in the Syrian tradition in Kerala. In this case, the church needs to think about how to make transgender people part of our liturgy. While there are many churches in the world that ordain such people, but it is very discouraging. The churches in India, especially the Syrian and traditional conservative churches in India, are reluctant to do so, especially established churches. The other main point is infrastructure. A church is not prepared structurally. That's my another point. For instance, toilet. There are also no transgender friendly toilets available in our public space. This toilet problem is major problem faced by such people who have undergone surgery and who are cross-dressing. How can we fix it in our churches? We need to create a transgender friendly church premise. We have toilets for male and female, but most of the churches, almost all the churches, they don't have such a facility to encourage or attract the transgender people to come to their church premise, because outside also they are facing the same problem. uh, why the church is little bit reluctant to accept this community, the people of the church, faithful community of the church, are always not able to accept this community. Why? The vast majority of the believers are afraid of or unwilling to embrace the transgender community. That I understand. We need to set aside gender equality Sundays in the church to educate such people. It's very difficult to have a gender equality Sunday or observation of such Sundays in our scenario, because most of the people are not aware that even women are not permitted to get into the holy altar during the service. Then how can we invite the transgender people? So we need a frequent sensitization programs for the the community to be open to accept or for the inclusion of this community. So slowly we can reduce the hatred towards them from by the common people. Then the marriage, the sacraments. LGBT community are forced into marriages. That is the reason our marriages fail so often. That's many incidents. I have come across many incidents in my personal life. LGBT community are forced into marriage. That is the reason some of our marriages get. Dear colleagues, very good. Dear colleagues, we have toilets for or unwilling to embrace the transgender community. That I understand. We need to. It's very difficult community.
We will move on to our online session. This particular video will be sent to all the participants. There is something you can watch it later. There's no technical problem.
Now, I invite Father Thomas Malipura to SVD to come on the stage. Okay. I request Father Thomas to introduce Reverend Dr. J. Krubha Lily Elizabeth.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. This is just a few words of introduction to Reverend Dr. J. Krubha Lily Elizabeth, who is going to speak to us online. Reverend Dr. J. Krubha Lily Elizabeth is a presbyter of the CSI Diocese of Madras, ministering in CSI Holy Cross Church, Perambur, and is director board for the Ministry among Transgenders, CSI Diocese of Madras. She has a doctorate PhD in international constitutional law from the University of Madras, and her thesis was entitled A Study on Socio-Legal Issues of Transgenders in India. She has documented the history of CSI, St. Mary's Church, Fort St. George, through the documentary film Westminster Abbey of the East, directed by Dr. Rafiq Ismail. Reverend Krubha will be presenting a paper on an understanding of the image of God in the diversified human existence, a call to honor God's handiwork in this online presentation.
Yes, Krubha, can you hear us? You can start your session.
Can I start?
Yes. Yes. You may start the session. Yes.
Yeah. Can I start? Am I audible? Yes. Okay. Dear friends, greetings. Good afternoon. I am Reverend Dr. J. Krubha Lily Elizabeth, and I am the director for the Board for Ministry among Transgenders. So, they give me this opportunity, and I thank the organizers, the Ishvani Kendra and NCCI, for giving me this invitation to present this paper. My paper is titled An Understanding of the Image of God in the Diversified Human Existence, a call to honor God's handiwork. My 24-year travel with the Rainbow community has given me a broad understanding of the diversity of God's creation. I tried hard to stereotype my thinking based on the gender binary till it dawned on me that this stereotype is fake and imposed purely based for the purpose of marking moral standards that were focused on material possession rather than Christ and fullness of life. I had a tough time trying to understand the concept gender identity and sexual orientation, of trans persons and their relationships, I could not accept their justification until it all fell into place. My research helped me to dwell in depth into the subject. My research helped me to dwell in depth into the subject, and I realized that I had no right to judge anyone else's life, a parameter which I did not know and had no right to define. God's creation has no duplicates. Whether even cloning can bring an exact duplicate still remains a question. In trying to understand the nature of gender identity and sexual orientation based on the biblical perspective, I have some very important verses that form the baseline for bringing out the vivid picture of God's creation. This paper deals with the image and likeness of God as found in the Bible as against what is generally accepted, the diversified human existence as against stereotypes, and the honoring of God's handiwork as against judging others' lives. So from the biblical view, I have first taken Genesis 1:26, and in this passage you will find that there are two important words, one, our image, and another, to our likeness. Our image is masculine singular construct, with our being one, first person common plural, and likeness is feminine singular construct with first person common plural suffix. So you will find here that there is both the feminine and the masculine in the image and the likeness of God, and accordingly humans have been created. And so God makes it very clear that He created them, male and female, He created them. So if it is in the image of God, it is not here actually a singular, but there is a more important perspective to it, more important emphasis to it, and we find here at least two genders coming out of this creation from a singular God. As we move on, we will also find that there are many other perspectives in the Bible that talk to us about God's presence as Trinity, 3 in 1. We know that Trinity does not occur even once in the but the plurality is made as an emphasis. Friends, we generally have this contention. There are two contentions on 1:26 and 27 of Genesis. That is, it is prehistoric, ethical, moral story, and lots of other things like the image of God is physical and biological. It's not physical and biological, but it is just the personality and the character of God. But if you look at Sabbath and the holiness, it starts from Genesis 1, also from this text that is called prehistoric. And also if you look at the beginnings, all the beginnings start to open up and unbox from the content of the scripture. And God gives us a good picture of the arena of gender and therefore sexuality of human that blossoms through this text. So when we look deeper into this particular subject, you will find that God gives us the grace to know that there is a vivid combination of the masculine and the feminine in a common plural text. But when it goes into the generally accepted view, you will find here that there is something a little more deeper. We generally attribute Jesus Christ calling God the Father as important to determine the gender of God. Gender of God cannot be limited to this masculine understanding alone, because in Exodus 3:14 you will find God said to Moses, I am who I am. This word, I am who I am, is a first person common singular that's occurring twice. It's a call imperfect, it's a verb. God is a doing person, and here you can find clearly that there is no image, no form, no gender, anything that God is trying to explain to Moses. So we know for clear that God is without form, and God's presence touches and leads us forward to also understand that God is far beyond just the masculine understanding. And in Exodus 23 and 4 you will find God says, don't create any image of anything in heaven or on earth or in the waters to describe my image, because I cannot be described that way. So, and it breaks down the origin of gender stereotypes. And as we move on, we will also find that gender stereotypes are all tutored, trained, and imposed, and truly do not exist. A girl is taught to be feminine, and a boy is taught to be masculine, and there is a lane in history where women have been more masculine and the men have been more feminine, and trans persons during puberty have a complete shift. Today, women do everything that men did, which was once purely possible by men, and men do everything that women did, which was once purely possible by women. The myth of gender stereotype has already disintegrated and had a fatal blow, except in the minds and hearts of people who refuse to accept it, the hardened hearts. More than what we know, in fact, human existence is a scale between the perfect man and the perfect woman. And therefore, you will find here that there is a varied kind of creation that God has made. We are able to accept variety in color, hair, color of the eye, eyeball, dimensions of the person, in wit and in everything except gender and sexuality. But Bible opens up to the existence of the third gender type, though masculine in grammatical form, the eunuch. So Isaiah 56, 4 and 5 you will read that God gives this guidance that, for thus saith Jehovah of the eunuchs, that keep my Sabbaths and choose things that please me. God says, I will have a memorial for them and a place for them better than sons and daughters in my house. So it's very clear that God is putting forth something beyond sons and daughters. A third gender has been clearly emphasized in this text. And as you go on, you will also find that God gives more importance to people who have been disregarded and alienated from temple and sacrifices, and made them central in God's presence. So when people are sidelined and break free from the social pressures to live the life in which they have been created by God, we are called to respect them, and if we do not, God calls them as a more preferred creation. Now, more and more endless variety and grace, you will find that except for India, Bangladesh and Nepal, everywhere else transgender is an umbrella term that includes lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, twin-spirited, queer, intersex and many more. God opens our mind to this reality in Mathew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19, you will find, for there are eunuchs who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others, and eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone accept this who can. So you will find here that the word that has been used for the eunuch clearly defines that the trans persons exist in creation naturally. My first idea of a person of varied gender and sexuality was one of misunderstanding. It was complicated, a true story of non-acceptance, until God opened my heart, mind and eyes to see this reality. It is a very tough travel, but I am amazed to see how trans women are more feminine than women. God opens our mind to see that there is endless variety in God and amazing grace. The spirituality concept. This year I had gone for the Pride March, and we were walking. In the beginning of the road, I met a person who was holding a placard saying, Jesus loves you. So this person looked at me in the cassock and said, Pastor, in solidarity. And I told him yes and walked away. After 1 hour, I came back, and he came running up to my vehicle when I was trying to board it, and then said, Pastor, how can you ever accept this? What is happening? I told him, God has so much of variety in creation. Even one leaf cannot be duplicated as another. You see so much of difference. You see so much of difference in all the genes in the body and the chromosomes. Why is it that only sex chromosomes and their differences are not accepted? So he said, that is okay, Pastor, I'm really not worried. I just want to know whether you will tell them about the love of Christ. We need to teach them how much Christ loves us. So I told him very clearly, we have 3 missionaries who are trans persons in our diocese, and very clearly that the people who are walking that Pride March may be far more closer to God than we are. Friends, one of our trans person missionaries came to our church and shared a witness about how God has been leading her in ministry. Suddenly, a woman from the last row got up and started talking to her in a very angry tone, pelting anger at her. Her lack of understanding was immense. She refused to listen to what even the Bible has got to say. It is not her fault. The impact of the society has installed in her such kind of understanding. For us, regarding spirituality, Acts 8:26 to 38 is a wonderful text. In that, you will find an Ethiopian eunuch, and this person is in charge of the entire treasury, almost the finance minister of that country, and she has been, or he or she, that's how it has been given here in the text. We just understand it's a trans person and going up to Jerusalem for worship and then coming back and on the way reading the book of Isaiah and trying to understand what God is relating to the person. So God brings it forth, and then there is a clarity and interpretation of the text that is given, immediately wanting to be baptized. It's really astounding to see this kind of sincerity in faith and spirituality in the life of this trans person. Friends, we have so many people who come and attend conferences when we think about trans persons. We have so many people who come to our churches every day. How many of these trans persons have been baptized and called to be part and parcel of our everyday worship service in our church still remains a very important question that is unanswered. So you will find here that God gives us a clarity of the in-depth spirituality of this individual and gives us the grace to know that there are many, many more who are spiritually sound and who really want to be close to their walk with God. So we go on to see how God has blessed our diocese and given us the grace to know that we have started this ministry from 1990. For 34 years, God has been faithfully leading us through this ministry. And God first touched Reverend Edwin Charles, our pastor, in 1981 and gave him the vision. Until now, God has led this ministry thus far. We have three transpersonal missionaries, as I told you, Ms. Vishwarani, Ms. Julie, and Ms. Rubini, who are ministering with our board for mission and evangelism. And in their solitary journey, they are witnessing for God in a strong way. The concept of love also is differently seen in 2 Samuel 1:6, where David laments, I grieve over you, my brother Jonathan. You were very clear to me, very dear to me. You love me more special. Your love is more special to me than the love of women. It can just be affection, just brotherly love, but sounds very different when it comes in comparison with the love of women. In recent times, acceptance towards gender minorities is more when compared to the sexual minorities. We are caught up in a point of time where there is immense pressure, the struggle to establish identities, and God is making ways for all. And thirdly, honoring God's handiwork. God makes everything beautiful, and we know that very clearly. God is the creator of all. The human existence and all creation started from one source, starting point, that is God. And God gives us the grace to know that God is leading us forward to see the wonderful handiwork of God. Psalm 19:1, Colossians 1:16-7, Ephesians 2:10, Hebrews 11:3, all talk about how beautiful God's creation is. And when we move on and see if somebody dishonors what we have created, we feel acute pain. We have no right to dishonor whom God has created. As Psalm 19:13-18 talks to us about how God forms the inward parts, knits them together, and how we are fearfully and wonderfully made, how our frame is not hidden from God, how God made us in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth, how God's eyes beheld our unformed substance. We have no right whatsoever to insult God's creation. We have no right whatsoever to try to find fault with what God has done. We are able to cherish development in technology and the beauty, delicate handiwork and new advancements in medicine and genetic engineering, but it's highly acceptable that we disregard the sovereignty of God in creation. We stigmatize people in the nature of sexuality and gender differences. God says, do not judge. Dear friends, in conclusion, in my travel with the Rainbow community, as I have stated in the beginnings, I learned things the hard way. But I met a lot of people and was amazed and surprised by the variety of God's creation. Today, we have a lot of machines that can replicate a product. We, can I just finish? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So today we have a lot of machines that can replicate the product, but God's creation, every piece is a perfect masterpiece, and we are indeed overwhelmed by the talent and silent yet steady progressive travel of the rainbow community, which has brought us to this national seminar, uniting two major fractions of Christianity for a common goal, fullness of life for all. Sometimes it is far beyond us, and we do not know how these existential patterns work in music, in media, in theater, in education, in legislation and judiciary around the world. People silently travel with the rest, putting up with the societal anomalies that pose a lot of challenges in their lives. Now they have made us to think, analyze, and research in spite of their silent existence. God really works in mysterious ways to affirm life. The first ambit, pastoral care, is to create awareness about God's image, God's handiwork, and fake human stereotypes. And we have to bring the gender and sexual minorities to interact with the church, for the unknown creates fear and hatred. As far as societal inclusion is concerned, they are everywhere, living with us, talking to us. They are our friends, family, our fellow worshippers, and colleagues, keeping their identity as a secret for fear of the world that may hate them. But a fair stand and an open heart and mind can help them to be free from this fear and hatred and exploitation. And it will happen. God is intervening in every space and forum, in every individual for their sake. As for us, we receive God's call to break free from stereotype mindset, to revere each person as unique in creation. Every human is as human as me. Every creation is created as with as much love by God as I have been created. Thank you so much for this time. My presentation is complete.
If you have any question, if you have any questions to Dr. Krubha Elizabeth, she can answer you through online. Father, this bin will be passing the phone. You can answer through the phone.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
My name is Rachana. I'm from Hyderabad.
Nice to meet you.
Such a nice meeting you too. Such a beautiful presentation, sister. I'm so humbled to.
Can I answer?
Yes, please answer.
Yes, as far as transgender rights are concerned, we have a lot of space now as against what was there before. The rights of trans persons regarding housing has been asserted in our state. I think it's also being asserted elsewhere. opportunities for job has been asserted in different places. There have been different acts that have been coming into force. The last being in, I think, 2019, there is an act. There are many other opportunities also opening up, including I really hope for a home and for life and future marital status, education, and things like that. There are lots of laws that are coming in. There is a lot of space in our country now for people to get accommodated. In our state, especially, there are policies that are being made by the social welfare department of our state, and so we had meetings together with lots of people talking about the kind of policy making that is necessary for the various facets of human life. Of course, there are differences in India, as I told you, regarding LGB and T issues. So there are certain kinds of differences that are being posed, but otherwise there is a lot of space now. Only is that the thing is that we have to find out venues as to how to move forward. Okay, as far as the Bible times are concerned, it's very clear in the Bible that when people were taken as slaves from one country to another, the men were castrated so that there is safety for the queen of the kingdom where they are taken in as captives. Or that is the kind of punishment that was given, maybe because they were caught in war or caught as captives. That's how they were being used. So during Jesus' times, this was there, and that is the reason why they have been made eunuchs by others, has been informed. So you will find that there are lots of people in the Bible who have been taken as captives and have been made eunuchs during that time period. But also to say in Matthew chapter 19, God gives a very clear explanation. If you do not understand the concept of eunuchs, let them be, do not disturb them.
So with that,
Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Now, I invite Professor Father Thomas Malipuradu SVD to come on the dais. Father Thomas Malipuradus is Professor Emeritus of Sacred Scripture at Janadeep. He was previously the Rector Divine Word Seminary and now is a staff member of Ishvani Kendra. He was director of Ishvani Kendra earlier. Now, I invite Sister Amita Pulimetla, the keynote speaker, to come on the dais. I request Father Thomas Malipuradu SVD to welcome her with the supplings. Let us join our hands together to welcome her. Thank you, Father.
Without further ado, I have here a little introduction of Sister Amita Polimetla, is that the way? Sister Dr. Amita Polimetla is Salvadorian sister, holds a master's and a doctor's degree in social work from Andhra University. She founded the Ni Todu Society, an NGO promoting gender equality and empowering third gender individuals. Sister Amita works with government agencies and organizations to provide identity cards and access to welfare schemes for third gender individuals. She conducts workshops and awareness programs on gender equality and has spoken at national and international forums, including the CRI National General Assembly. Currently, she serves as assistant professor at Andhra University's Department of Social Work, exclusively empowering marginalized third gender communities. Sister Amita will present to us the impact of stigma and discrimination on transgender lives, a comprehensive analysis. Over to you, sister.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Father, for introducing me, and thank you so much for having me, Ishvani Kendra. Okay, without further delay, my topic is actually the impact of stigma and discrimination on transgender lives, a comprehensive analysis. But since a lot of the areas are covered by the other speakers in 2 days, so I'm skipping some of the things, but I'm going to give you the information which is not spoken till now in these sessions. So I'll be giving you that session. If session is not going along with the theme, don't worry, because I had to change some things because of the sessions I heard and the inputs are given. Okay. Okay. So before I could start about why I have started exclusively to work with third genders and transgenders, it's my own encounter with the transgender person. My journey with transgender person, there is a YouTube video. You will get that. I will forward everybody. It is clearly stated everything why I have chosen. But then I would like to narrate an incident which made me to get into this kind of work, to work exclusively for transgenders. So I used to work as an assistant professor at St. Joseph's University, Bangalore. So while I was working there, one day when I was coming from the college, first time in my life I'm coming across a transgender person. So till then I had same like the fears that all of us have, same fear I had. You won't believe I started to sweat the moment I saw her. Then I took all my courage. She's coming right in front of me. I don't have any place to go away. There is no one at least to look at them and get some support. I had my own fear. So she came right in front of me and I didn't know what to ask her, or I don't know. But I took my all my courage and I asked her, how are you? In Kannada I asked, Chanagidira. I asked in Kannada. Then she just stood there and she started to cry. So I thought maybe I said something wrong in Kannada because Kannada is not my language. So I told her, I'm sorry if I offend you by saying something wrong, but what I meant was I wanted to ask you how are you, and I said it in Telugu. So she told me she's from Andhra, Nellore district, settled in Bangalore for 3 years. I am the first one to look at her face and ask, how are you? So when I asked her in Telugu directly, she remembered her family, she remembered her siblings, and she started to cry because she realized that she is missing her family. She started to cry. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there and I started to look at her and trying to understand what is happening with me and what is she sharing that day to me. So then I asked her, why are you crying? Where did you come from? Then she told I asked her, why did you leave your family? You can go back and see your parents. Why are you standing here and crying? Then only she told me that she ran away from family and how her family members were abusing her. All that she explained to me. But since I had no idea about this transgender community, to be frank, I didn't understand what she actually spoke to me. But her crying face was in my mind, that she cried when I asked her, how are you? So that was the beginning point for me to understand or to get into this research or work with the transgender persons. Then I started to travel in by trains. Then I happened to see, I traveled many times, but I never noticed transgenders. Maybe they were going up and down, going that side, this side, but I never noticed these transgender persons. But I noticed that they transgender persons, and I don't know why I noticed. And I heard the clap, and I just started to look at them, who they are. Then I could see in that coach, 80 to 95% of the people just turning their face, don't want to look at them, or turning to cover their faces, turn their faces. Some took their phones. Started to look at the phone and do something and all. Parents started to cover their children so that transgenders won't see them. And you don't know the boys, the kind of struggle they face. So they are doing all kinds of drama so that they won't get in touch with the transgenders. Because most of the boys has their own negative experiences with transgender. So I'm seeing all these things happening in front of my eyes. And I had no courage to talk to her by then. Then I got on the train. I started to walk. If any of you know, familiar with the Bangalore, we have a Majestic and railway station which connects through a tunnel. So I was passing through the tunnel to get a bus. Then I am seeing again men wearing like a lady's dress with full makeup, with flowers in the dark areas, trying to look at the men and calling them, trying to like winking their eyes and calling them. These are the things I just saw. Then I went to the one shop fellow and asked, sir, who these people are? He looked at me from top to down, and he looked at me and said, you look like an educated person. Why do you want to know about these things? Go like that. Like he got, he didn't want to speak about these things to me. Then I asked another shop fellow. That shop fellow also looked at me like that. Then I went back to the college. Then I sent social work students for the observation next day, same time, 5:30 to 7:30. Go to that subway, tunnel, find out who they are and what they are doing. I didn't tell them whom to observe. I told them, if you see anything odd there, find out what it is and come back. So my students told me that they are transgenders. They're standing there calling men for sex. And I saw them begging in the train. And they told me that for their survival, they are doing this begging and sex work. So it was a shock for me to understand for their survival, they are getting into begging and sex work. So this was the starting point for me to get into research, to understand who they are, what they are, why are they on the streets, why are they doing begging and sex work for the livelihood. I asked many people, nobody could answer me that. Then I thought research would be the right way of understanding things. I took leave from the university and I got into research. And I did my research on Profile and Problems of Transgenders in Coastal Districts of Andhra Pradesh. The things that I speak mostly in the context of Andhra Pradesh I'm talking, because other states really, I mean, like we read in the documents, but really implementation part of it, what is happening, I'm not sure of other states. But whatever I say here, in the context of Andhra Pradesh, I'm going to talk to you. So that is the way. So one thing that you people did not get information is you heard about transgenders, mostly you heard about transgenders. But these transgender people are called in different states with different names. Okay, they are called third genders, they are called as Chekka, Arvani, Ombadu, Tamil Nadu, they are called Hijra and Kinnar in northern parts of India, they are called Shikhandi, they are in Kerala they are called as Shikhandis. Mangalamukis in Tamil Nadu, they also call Mangalamukis. And in Andhra, actually, we use derogatory words. Adangi, Koja, 0.5, that is the way we call them, those which are very derogatory words, which we are not supposed to use now. And then we have Shiv Shaktis, Jogapas, these are all cultural terms and the tags given to the transgender community members depending on the state and the cultural practices and traditions that they have in their state. And then you heard so many things about sex and gender and all that. So I myself have confusion about so many things, and I'm sure that you also will have confusion with this gender and sex and all that. So many things are new to you. So simple thing, basic thing that you need to understand when we talk about sex. You need to know that there is not only a male and a female, but today we have an intersex child. I used to only read in the books, but for my shock, there was a case in our medical college where parents literally threw the child in the dustbin and they left the child. So those who were cleaning there, they heard the cry of the baby and brought the baby to the doctors, and for their shock, they show it was a intersex child, and parents doesn't want to keep the child and they threw the child. Fortunately, they called the transgender community members, and the child is growing with the transgender community members. Her name is Gayatri. She's, I think, a 3-year-old child. I'll show you the picture of a intersex child. That's for you to understand, but don't feel anything. Then second is the gender. So gender has actually so many genders are there. Gender is a spectrum, in fact. We cannot just confine it to the 3 or 4 or 5. Some books speaks about number of genders. But basic thing that you need to know is, we see man or a woman, that you need to know that third gender and transgender. Gender is a spectrum, I'm saying, because people are, the way they are identifying themselves. When we speak about gender, you need to know gender expression is there, sexual orientation is there, gender identity is there. Okay? So the way they identify themselves would differ from how we identify ourselves. The way they express themselves, though they are identifying themselves as, for example, if I am identifying myself as a man, but I don't like to express as a man, but I wear my dress code as female and walk around. So you have gender expression, gender identity, how you identify oneself, and the sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is again different. How you sexually get attracted to a person. All these things are involved when you talk about a gender. So for you, simple terms to understand, when you talk about a gender, man, woman, and third gender does exist in our society. That fact you need to accept. So when you accept there is 3 sexes are there, 3 genders are there, in future it might increase. But at least for now, for you to understand basic things, that there are intersex children, there are third genders or transgenders or whichever it is, there are things happening. So I said about sexual orientation because wherein this all the LGBTQIA, plus all these people comes. And again, it is a sexual orientation, gender identity, gender minors, different things are there. But for you, the simple thing to understand, when you speak about gender, there are other genders. One is biological and one is social. So these are the intersectional. This is the child we are helping our child growing with us. I mean, I have contact with this child, and whenever I go for sessions and all, some girls come and tell me, sister, we saw that child, we know her name is Gayatri, evening she plays with us and all, she's going to the school also, and not at I think. So this is the intersex children. You don't know that intersex children are born, but they are born with this kind of ambiguous genitalia, wherein sometimes parents ask the doctors to perform surgery when they are children itself. And that time basically parents request for having a male child person, and they do the surgery and make it a male genitalia, and they are forgetting that parents are happy that they did surgery and the child is having a male genitalia. But they are forgetting about the internal system of the baby. It is not enough to change what is external, but you are forgetting about the internal. So don't expect child to grow since you made a surgery as a male genitalia. Don't expect the child to grow as a male person, because child can become a female person, child can become a transgender person, child can become something homosexuality or something. We need to allow the individual to grow as they want to grow. We have a one intersex child, a grown-up child, 18-year-old. When parents got to know I'm a doctor, so they thought I'm a real doctor. They don't know that I have a PhD doctorate. So they thought I'm a real doctor, and they took the child to me. They brought to my NGO. So parents are asking me, sister, can you tell my child? She wears boys' clothes, but only thing she's growing her hair and keeping earrings, and photo she's not keeping. So earrings, long hair, boys' dress. So can you request our child just to cut the hair and remove the earrings? So we have no issue, because in the village she is the talk of the town. Okay, everybody is talking about her because wearing gents dress, long hair and earrings. Sometimes she keeps flowers and all. Time is over. Huh? I did not start. Okay, so that thing is there. So then when I asked the child, she told, if you cut my hair, I'll commit suicide. I told her, when you're sleeping, if your children cut your hair, what will you do? And then she's telling, I will commit suicide, sister. I want to live like this only. I don't want anyone to force me. 18-year-old, I don't know what to call her, girl or a boy, but intersex person is strongly telling to her parents. I don't know how many of the transgenders or homosexuals are able to openly tell to their parents all these things. Whatever parents are going through, whatever villages are telling, she wants to live however she wants to. Then only, till then I don't know she's an intersex child. Then I sent the child outside and I asked the parents what was her sex. And they were hesitant to tell. Boy only, like that one kind of thing. No? Then I said, you tell me clearly what was the genitalia the child had. Then they are telling me that she had ambiguous genitalia. Then I explained to them what it is, and then parents understood. Other thing, so for when it comes to the transgender people, so by the way, though it is LGBTQIA+ plus and something else is there, my focus is only on transgenders, because among LGBTQIA+ plus community, I see transgenders are I don't deny that others are not discriminated or they are having problem. Personally, I understand and I realized that the transgender community are the ones actually facing the discrimination and marginalization and problems, because of which I chose transgender community for my research. So transgenders, when you see sex and gender actually does not match for the transgender kids. That's why I showed like that for you to understand in a simple way that girl has to become a woman, boy has to become a man. But when it comes to the transgenders, it is just opposite happening. So sex and gender is not matching for them. And when you look at the census, I think many have told, but only thing you need to know, in Andhra Pradesh is the second highest state having transgender persons of 43,769. It would be bigger than that number, because 10 years, so many years back it has done. And now when we change their life documents, I realize that most of them didn't come out and tell that they are transgenders. So number would be much bigger than this. And among transgenders, two types are there. One is a trans woman and one is a trans man. So trans woman, when I say, they are not a typical women. Okay? It could be due to transition, it could be chromosomal imbalance, it could be hormonal imbalance, it could be upbringing. We don't know the reason behind why they are born like that. But you need to understand there are two types, trans man and trans woman. So when they say they are a trans woman, you need to understand they are not trans woman. When they say they are not real woman, and they are biologically male. They are born as male. Later stages, they became a female person. So trans woman. So trans man means they are biologically female and becoming a male person. So trans woman, trans man, there are two types that we have. So sometimes they will ask me, sister, how to pronounce, what pronouns can we use, how to call them. So simple thing is I tell them based on their dress code, you address them. If they are in female dress, address them akka, auntie, Shelly, granny, or whichever it is based on their age. Okay, if they are in male dress, address them according. That simple is that. You don't need to look into signs and what body parts they have and all. Nothing to worry. Based on their dress code, you address them. And transgenders, when they are born with typical male genitalia, male body. Girls are born with typical female body with all the organs as it is. But later, after transition, they undergo surgeries, they do the castration, and they do the portmanteau surgery, and they make themselves female, and the male are also doing the same thing. They take hormones and make a beard to grow, mustache to grow, and all that things they do after surgeries. These are the gender symbols. I am showing this symbol for you to understand. And so many spoke about toilets. And we have toilets in Visakhapatnam, in Andhra Pradesh. Any public toilets you go, we have third gender toilets or transgender it is written. The same symbols are given on the toilets. If at all you come to visit our NGO, most welcome. I can show those things also. It is implemented there. And then important thing that you need to understand, I put it in very simple way. We don't need the science and research and all that for you to understand. In simple way, important thing is how can we identify these children in order to be of help for these kids. Okay, simple thing is children when they are born, like any other male or female. So, but when children are showing interest towards girls' clothes, girls' sports, working like girls, showing interest to put mehendi, put nail polish, interest to grow hair, interest only towards girls and only playing with girls. All these simple things are the symptoms could become a transgender person. Since symptoms are there, I cannot directly tell, hey, you have all the symptoms, yeah, you are a transgender person. You can't tell. Law says, if an individual person, unless and until they come out and identify themselves, say that I'm a transgender person, none of us have the right to tell you are a transgender person. Transgender person or homosexual or whoever it is. Law is that right is given to the individual. We need to respect that and we need to accept that. Simple things. Understand what child is going through. And in foreign we have very good things wherein they treat the children not reversing their attraction or reversing the process, what they are identifying. They help the child to grow in whichever way they are identifying themselves. If they identify themselves as girls, boys are identifying themselves as girls, they have a pediatricians who help them, children, and they counsel the parents, they help the child to grow all those things they have. But unfortunately, we don't have all that. But for you to understand, when child is having this kind of behavior pattern, you try to understand instead of judging or enforcing them to be a boy or a girl. Those things we need to take care. So these things, one of the genetics department professor told me that it could be a chromosomal, it could be a hormonal, it could be the upbringing of the child, because when mother wants to have a girl child and a boy child is coming out, sometimes there are cases. Now we will be having research in Andhra University together in collaborating with our NGO. Through the genetics department we are going to have research. That time I would be able to explain to you in a better way. Then abuse. I think my time is over. Okay. So abuse at family, in the school and the society, the kind of abuses that they are facing, because of which they are running away from families. So these are the percentages. Maybe afterwards you'll get it. And for my surprise, I got to know that where are these transgenders? 95 to 95 plus percentage children are out of families. Imagine 46,769 parents, siblings have abandoned their children, and that many children are on the streets doing their begging and sex work. They are forced to run away from families, and they are forced, or sometimes by facing the difficulties, verbal and sexual and emotional abuse, they are running away from families. Till here is okay. Where are they ending up, these 43,769 children? When you disown your own kids from your family setting, whom else do you expect to take care? Fortunate thing, we have a Hijra culture, which you did not hear during this talk. Hijra culture is, I think some of you are from Hijra culture, I think most of you are from Hijra culture. If I say anything mistake, please add your own inputs. Hijra culture. So when they run away from families and come to the streets, these Hijra persons who are on the streets doing their begging and sex work, identify this kind of children, take them to their culture, adopt them as daughters in their culture. Daughter. Okay? So adopt them as daughters. If they are identifying themselves as female, they'll adopt them as daughters, or else sons. Okay, sons rate is very less, because when we compare trans men and trans women rate is very high. I won't deny there are no trans men, but comparatively trans women are very high. So all these people are ending up in Hijra culture, and I don't know whether it is fortunate or unfortunate. They believe begging, sex work, badai, these are their traditional occupations. So they teach them, once you get into Hijra culture, they teach them how to clap. So you might have seen they are doing the clap, that is called Tali, signature clap. So they teach them how to clap, they teach them how to do the begging, which area to go, when to go, timing and all they will decide. Then how to do the sex work and safer sex and whatever it is they will teach them, and they'll help them to undergo the surgeries. Okay, so all these things are happening. So once the surgery is done, then you are on the street to do the begging. This is their goddess whom they worship. It is called, if I am not mistaken, Bahuchara Mata it is called. Sometimes they say Mrigi Mata also they say. So she is their goddess, sits on the cock. Yeah. Then, so it is not that simply anybody and everybody can get into their Hijra culture. Father, please extend 10 more minutes time for me, because I won't get this chance to. You will not get, I don't know whether you will get anywhere, but I won't get chance to communicate. Please excuse me, I will take 10 more minutes and leave you. If at all I am crossing my time, please help. So they cannot simply get into Hijra culture as and then however they want, whenever they want. So once somebody got the child on the streets, so they take them to that place and they have a council. So it is called in their languages, in their culture, it is called something called Chatai. Chatai means it is their culture, council. Council who approves the membership within the Hijra culture. So when I speak about Hijra culture, those of you, if I have made any mistakes at the end of the session, you can give inputs, okay? If you feel that something wrong I am presenting here. So they will have a council wherein they have a hierarchy. For you to understand in simple terms, I will tell. Like you have a provincial and a community superiors. So provincial and community superiors is a council wherein they sit together and give the membership, transgender Hijra culture membership, the council approves the membership, and they get inside the Hijra culture. So once they get inside the Hijra culture, if I got a person from the road, so council decides that this particular Hijra person, like Komali, let us say Komali, today onwards, Komali is the daughter of Amita. So that is what they announce on their Hijra culture WhatsApp groups throughout AP and Telangana. So everybody knows Komali is my daughter. So nobody else can take her as their daughter in their places. So you are fixed, your membership is fixed in Visakhapatnam, Muralinagar area, Amita's daughter. Okay, so membership is taken. So till they reach their 18, till the amount is ready for their surgeries, I will wait. Once the amount is ready, we will they will help, Hijra culture people will help the individual to undergo the surgery. So after the surgery, they have a big celebration, something called Jalsa. So they have a beautiful practice, a Jalsa celebration, 40 days ceremony, wherein they keep them like that. I mean, on the day of 41st day, they cover their, so they should not look at any men these 40 days after the surgery. They should not sit on the bed, they should not eat fruits, they should not eat non-veg. So they have so many things. When I get time, I will explain to you all those things. I have my contact number. Now I can't explain to you all that. So they will cover their face like that. Till then they won't see anybody. I mean, among Hijra culture people, they will see. They should not look at the mirror. All those things are there. So once they cover their faces and bring them to that location. Okay, one priest is blessing them. I happened to go and they asked me, sister, can you bring one priest to bless our new ones, newly becoming a Hijra permanent membership they are going to get, like final profession like that. So they cover them like this. So they wear green, fully green bangles, green sari, and everything is green. And they take them like that early in the morning, around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, early in the morning when nobody knows. So they take them to the water bodies with the milk on their pot. They go to that water bodies, throw that water, throw that milk, and pray for the feminization of their body, to give the beauty of a feminine body and feminine beauty. All those things they pray. They come back and they have a big some celebration called Jalsa. They hire halls like this, big halls, and then all the transgender community members come together. So we have, when we celebrate, we have a number of people. We invite relatives, friends, and all those people. But for their celebrations, no outsiders. They have their own Hijra community members. I'm so happy to see that kind of unity that community people are having, living together, celebrating together. So this celebration is called Jalsa. So I made that father also to inaugurate the program. They had celebration. So they prepare these transgenders, those who underwent surgery, as brides. So they are celebrating the womanhood of a boy who is becoming a woman in the Hijra culture. So they prepare them as brides and they book a hall. They have a big celebration, whole day celebration, sometimes 2 days like that also. They keep depending on the money they have, and they make them a permanent members of the culture. So she's going on giving me slips. Time also is over. Five minutes, okay? Okay, so problem begins at the family, and then it is going to the school, and it is going to the society. So these are all, these are all legal rights and all that she said. So what I am doing, I'll show you. So I started an NGO, something called the Day-2 Society for Transgender Persons, which means to be with you or to accompany you. That is the name of my NGO. This is my logo, Day-2, Society for Transgender Persons, a journey towards dignity. These are my staff members, social workers who are helping me. And we do survey, transgender IDs, health cards, voter IDs, ration, pension awareness programs, skill training, self-help groups, job placements, collaboration with the GOs and NGOs. These are some of the photos wherein we go to the places, district by district, we take the places, do the survey, where they are, what they are, and all that. And once the survey is done, so these are awareness programs. For awareness programs, my target population is women, because women are the one who spend more time with the kids when they are inside the family. If mothers are aware of these issues, children will not go through all the psychological trauma that the transgender persons are going through. So I focus on women groups. I take awareness programs for transgenders. Then these are also transgenders. These are transgenders from tribal area. So we don't leave them also. In tribal area, actually, transgenders are respected. And I take sessions for the school children, because according to my research, 8th, 9th, 10th age group, that is the age group, children are coming out of their behavior pattern with identity crisis. So we want to identify the kids in the school setting itself, so that they won't drop out of the school and they don't leave the family, because through the child we reach out to the parents and counsel the parents and tell the parents to keep their children with them. These are college students. And we also collaborate with the police department. Through police department also they are facing a lot of difficulties, especially the Hijra community in our places. So we have collaboration with the police departments and we give awareness to them. Then I also give sessions for premarital counseling courses, because I am trying to look into the preventive measures so that later part of the discrimination and stigma that we are seeing here we can curb. So that's what premarital counseling. When I said premarital counseling course, I will take session, fathers laughed at me. They are going to form they are going to marry, and why do you want to talk all that? I said they are the future family unit. They should know, if at all they get the kind of children, or if you come across that kind of children, parents should know how to deal. So father also stood, I think, to bring me down. So these are brothers. So somebody was telling, what about future generations of the brothers? So we have in major and minor seminaries, course 2 credit course is introduced exclusively to talk on these issues. We have at least in Andhra, I don't know about other places. Of course, recently JD also has introduced, and last 2 years back we had the same program. So future generations of the church also I'm handling, so that in the future, know where these kind of people are discriminated. These are also brothers. And we have awareness programs, gender equality. So these are the identity cards given by the central government through state government, but process is very complicated. So our NGO helps them to get. We have given almost for 400 people ID cards. Okay. So these are government people wherein we are collaborating to implement the schemes of transgenders properly, rights of transgenders properly in our own place. So we have placed 7 transgenders in a government post. Of course, it is a sweeper post. They are earning 13,000 per month. I am so happy. And under Arageshree scheme, we are asking them to give free surgeries. Then, and the important thing, we are the first ones to start self-help groups for the transgender community, and that and all I cannot. So we have 10 groups running wherein they come monthly, save their money, and then we have a discussions, deal with their problems and all that, counselings. Now we are doing a running program, and we have a loan distribution for them, and our bishops and our fathers and sisters and everybody is with this issue. We are standing for the cause. And then another beautiful thing, we have a skill training center. This is a livelihood program center we have initiated for transgenders. Everybody is looking at me to stop. So this is another program, a running program, state level we have organized for transgenders. All the 3 prizes transgenders got, and the students whom I have taken from our district. And then these are some of the things. We have competitions for transgenders, Christmas celebrations. And one more important thing, my work was recognized by the Vatican City, and my work was translated in 15 languages, and it was published across. And family visits. This is the job placement we have done for 25 people. We had an interview and they had to get their call. And we are sponsoring the students' education, 10 of them. Okay, so I'm stopping. I have so many things to show, but see, this is the professor who will be helping me with the genetics department. Okay, last slide. These are 2 doctors from Telangana, transgender doctors, from Andhra doctor. That's all. Yeah.
So we thank Sister Amita for her presentation. Because we have already overshot the time slot given to this input session, we are going to have a very short question and answer session. Maybe a couple of questions will be allowed, and then we will close the session. Yes.
Thank you, sister. Extensive research and a lot of great work you're doing. I only have one question and one comment. Comment is related to, you said 2 types are there.
Yeah.
And then you use the word biological male and biological female.
Yeah.
So that is my comment, that because I have worked in the US also, And I think the professional language that is used is sex assigned at birth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is one comment that I have. So sex assigned at birth, what is your sex assigned at birth? Male?
Or female or
Okay, so that is one comment. And one question, I think maybe Ruby can also like comment on that if she has an international perspective. You said 3 types of sex and 3 types of gender. I have an understanding that male and female are the 2 sexes, but I don't know because I'm also not sure. I haven't come across literatures which says that intersex is the 3rd sex. Intersex is the 3rd sex, I'm not aware of that. And whether within gender, you can put transgender also as the 3rd gender. Because transgender is an umbrella term, and when you're talking about the sex construct, which is biological, and the gender...
It's a question, not
See
a
the
comment.
thing, yeah, I
That's the
understand.
question, whether there are 3 genders and whether there are 3 sexes.
So that's why when I started my session itself, I told you it is, I have just little simplified it. It is not that what I said is 100%. I clearly said, I am telling about these 3 things. See, till now we have seen only male and female. But you never knew that there are intersex children are born. When we are talking about sex genitalia of the baby, we are looking at and deciding. There could be so many variations, be it gender or be it sexes, so many things would be there. But I am simplifying for you to understand, because for all of us these things are new. So if I explain to you everything, you will not understand, and for me also it is confusing. So I just simplified, but don't confine to the 3 sex or 3 gender I kept presented to you. You have to open yourselves to accept how many our sexes, how many our genders we are going to get in the future. Only thing, you need to open your mind and heart and accept the child as they are. Be it mentally retarded, physically disabled, whoever it is. Just you open your mind and heart to accept as they are. And since you don't know all those things, for you to simplify, that's why I clearly said, for you to simplify, simply to understand, there are binary than the male and female, we have something else. Than the gender or man or a woman, something else is there. So for that thing, for you to understand only, I simplified. Of course, when we look at international perspective, you have so many things.
I have a comment because the UN fact sheet on intersex people, the Child Rights Act of on intersex people, the recently judgment on Kerala High Court gives intersex children the right to privacy. So I feel that the image shown is not with the consent with the child because they are of age. Hence, there are a lot of images that are available on Google, and that's not just one intersex variation. There are, as per intersex fact sheet, there are 22 intersex variations, and without the consent of the child, irrespective of where the child is, I think showing that image is not appropriate and not correct, because it is a right to dignity of the child, right to acceptance of the child, and moreover, right to give consent because they are not still in adulthood to say whether their image should be out or no.
Okay, thank you. I will give you the answer quickly. See, before I could show the picture already, I told you for you to understand. So when I tell you in air there are intersex children are existing, you won't understand and you will not know what it is. So this particular child, for me itself new to understand, when we got this child in the medical college, for me itself it was a shock. When I say ambiguous genitalia, you will not understand because you never came across a child. And I didn't show the photo of the child to you. And the mother who adopted this child, she knows that I'm closely following this child to understand who this girl or boy would become. So they know that. That's why I didn't show you the child's picture. I didn't show you. I only showed the genitalia for you to know that intersex children are born like this. It could be, as she said, number of variations are there. But you need to understand that there is a different type of thing. For that only I showed you. And I didn't take her name. I didn't take her photo. My mother knows that I am doing this one. So yeah.
All right. With that, we end that section. Thank you, everybody.
I am available. Tomorrow also you can ask me anything. Thank you.
We thank Father Thomas Malipura, the SVD, the moderator, and Sister Amita Polimetla for the valuable messages that set the tone for the conference. Now, I invite Father Dominic Martis, the moderator of the session, to come on the dais. I invite Daniela Mendonça to come on the dais. Father Dominic Martis belongs to Vasai Diocese. At present, he is working as a parish priest in Mary Help of Christian Church at Naigaon. Now, I request Father Dominic Martis to welcome her with the sapling. Thank you, Father.
Yes, you have to begin.
Good evening and welcome for this session. I got a paper about Daniela. I will read and then maybe I'll say something after that. Daniela Mendonça sharing her life story. Daniela Mendonça, an intersex out.
First of all, thank you, Ishvani Kendra, for having us here, Father Victor and the entire core team for putting out the job that is required. I am a testimony for the God that you all believe in, and I say that very proudly and firmly. I will share a very brief about my story and then move towards what is very important to share about the pastoral care and how the church is required to reform and change. I'm Daniela Mendonça, and I was born in 1991, 8 December, to my parents from a Roman Catholic background. My parents never knew the term intersex LGBTIQ. I was born with a mix of variations of my genital, and doctor couldn't know whether I was a male or a female. And the first thing that doctor told my parents कि आपके घर पे हिजड़ा पैदा हुआ है. So my discrimination started right there. I never understood my body fully because I always thought that I'm different, but I didn't knew who I was. And I went to a boys' high school. I remember that my mother always used to put diapers around me and never let me go out of the house because she was afraid of the surrounding, or the school would just open up my pants and look what is down and make fun of me. And while I'm still a millennium and we all went to boys versus girls school, I was put into Sacred Heart Boys High School in Santa Cruz, run by completely diocesan priests, but the amount of torture, the sexual harassments with people around me, with teachers, with priests, and also with children that happened was terrible and cannot be described. I was 9.5 years old when I first menstruated, and I did not know what that meant. I was rushed to the hospital, and the hospital did not knew what is this variation and what kind of it, and I went to multiple surgeries because of that. A long gap of my studies had gone, and everything that just took up 9 years of continuous rejection from everywhere. My father was never happy with me, and my mother still, because I think mothers have the heart and of acceptance. It comes because, no matter what, it's my child. I was sold to the Hijra community because the way I was with my parents. So it is not always that, that transgender take, but sometimes also there is a huge festival in Kerala, which is called the Aravani festival, where parents of intersex children take their children and sell it to the transgender community because they're not able to take care of the children the way they want. I grew up in a transgender community where I had to learn the art, I'm saying it, the art of begging and sex work. It is not an easy task for everyone to do it. I'm saying it's an art because the clap, the sound that you hear is a unique sound, and to learn that does not come just in a day. It's an art that you learn. Dholki is an art, that instrument that you play in Badhai is not something that is just done over the years. It's an art that you learn and cherish. And I learned sex work and begging because that was the only means of survival to me. My story completely changed in India when one day doing sex work at Bandra station, I was raped by 11 men. And I was rushed on to the hospital. People didn't know my genital, how it was, and I could hear doctors making fun of me. And that is the first time I came across Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which also means sodomy law. So when a lot of questions around discrimination evolves, every country that has been colonized by the British or forced the law of Section 377, which are today responsible for the majority of sideline of the LGBTQ community in the world. Section 377, if you look at the history of it, you will realize that it was brought down by the British and said that two men who had sex or homosexual sex were not allowed. Second, it forbade men to dress like women and women to dress like men. And third, there was a cluster, there were certain tribes that was put into Section 377, which were called Criminal Tribes Act, like the Pardi community, the Banjara community were involved in this. But with the new India, when we got our independence, the other things were removed, but the debate on homosexuality still remained because religion held a major place in the constitution even at that time. And there were religious leaders who were not for removing Section 377. From there onwards, it was very difficult for me to converse with people. I tried suiciding myself, didn't work. God said, go make an inclusive place first on earth, then I'll make it in heaven. And that's how that journey began of understanding myself, knowing myself, and what can I do. I met a nun one day. I was begging on the street, and suddenly she just looked up to me, smiled, and said, what's your name? And that conversation started and said, would you like to study? That was the first time somebody told me that, would you like to study? She helped me in having my 10th privately, my 11th and 12th, she paid me for my education. I did it from Vartak College. But again, the discrimination never stopped because of who you are, right? It just brings on with you. And I chose to do my BSW in College of Social Work, Nirmala Niketan, a lot of NN people present here. Dr. Anita Chetiyar, Anjana ma'am, a lot of people are responsible for who I am today, and that cannot go away. While I was still in my bachelor in social work, NCCI, National Council of Churches India, reached out to me and said, Daniela, would you, Reverend Devojyoti is here, Father Thomas Nenan was here yesterday, we have worked for the last 14 years together, and Rachna is here, Inba is here, we have worked together. And that journey began with going to different churches in India and talking about LGBTIQ rights. And what I realized during the journey, of course, is that why there is a church that needs to improve, the very first basic question is, I was denied my baptism on the basis of my gender. The very fact that as a child, when you are said no to get baptized, is where the church intervenes. When you do not receive First Holy Communion, the sacrament of confirmation as an individual, forget about LGBT, everything aside, as a human. I'm talking this as a human perspective. My gender is very behind. As a human to human, my humanity is first before my gender. When I'm not getting those kinds of sacrament which I deserve, it becomes a place of discrimination, it becomes a place of non-acceptance. And not just that, when a lot of religious parents like us, when they find out that their child is transgender, gay, lesbian, the first phase they turn out is to priests and nuns. And your one negative response can change our lives. And that can go in very wrong direction. We have known people, because of wrong retreats and wrong information, they have gone to shock therapy. People have gone under counseling, forceful change of gender, forceful marriages. And that impacts a lot of us. While I started a journey with NCCI, going around and talking about the world and talking about us, that the people like us exist, and more than existence, we are humans. We may have different choices, just like everybody same in the room has, but our choices, just because it's different, doesn't mean that we are dangerous and we are not humans. And because of your ignorance, this is what I said in the morning, the price of your ignorance the community pays is much, much higher than what you think. The price of excluding from our families, not enjoying our family lives, not enjoying our adulthood to the fullest, not enjoying all the rights that you are born with. You know, rights are something that we are born with. Right to marriage, right to equality is something that I had to fight and take. You never had to do that. For a simple reason that for a washroom, you never have to think twice. I have to think thrice when I am in an open space. Those simple rights which look privileged to you, deep within means a lot to me. A freedom of expression in my own house, in my own family. And when the journey started with so many priests and nuns and it went forward, I met some amazing, wonderful supporting priests in my life. And I keep saying that when the church kept discriminating me, I forced the church to keep accepting me. Because my journey with God is my personal journey. There is no priest, no nuns, no lay that is coming in the between, because my journey with Him is God knows me fully and I know Him fully. The God that you see from your own eyes, remember, can be a rainbow God from somebody else's eyes. And that's exactly what is my relationship with God. But with church, I realize that there is no representation of people like us. And when I say people like us, we are also people of God. And I deserve equal respect in the church when I enter that premises as much as you deserve. The sacraments are not divided. If homosexuality, being transsexual, being intersexual would have been such a big sin, my dear brothers and sisters and my queer folks, in the 10 Commandments we would have been mentioned. But we have been not. And the love that I've experienced, Father Bonaventure Pereira, not with us today, in heaven somewhere, he's definitely listening to me. He welcomed me into the Roman Catholic Church. He opened the doors at Divine Mercy Church. I became a catechism teacher. He told me to go and learn my theology because he believed that I could do something right. He put me into Sunday school courses. He put me into lecture courses. He made me the head of Sunday school so I could represent the entire Binder deanery. And that's how my journey started. When people were telling him what you're doing is not right, he kept telling, you don't know unless you do it. And that is my journey with the church that began, and there was always constant, and I've gone to all churches. Mostly I don't even know the name still, but it was a desire to do it in my own church. I was invited for the Second Vatican Council, and it was my privilege to meet the recent Pope, and the discussion that we had on the lives of LGBTIQ people and family was amazing. because you do not realize that transgender people, they are in the Hijra committee, yes, but family plays an important role in all of our life. To call somebody mother, to call somebody father, to discuss what I feel within is a huge, deep within it hurts, because for a lot of transgender people, we don't have anybody to go for. You cannot fulfill, no matter how many friends you have, but nobody can fulfill the role of a mother, nobody can fulfill the role of a father, nobody can fulfill the role of a sibling. And with all that, there was a huge desire in my heart to get married, and not just to get married, but to get married in a sacrament. And I remember I was in a relationship of 3 years. I got married last year, now 6th November, I'm going to celebrate my 2 years of wedding anniversary. No father, no priest was ready to come and bless my marriage, but God has his own ways. Father Philip Kuruvila, who I worked with at NCCI, he called me up and said, "You're getting married?" I said, "Yes, I'm getting married." He said, "Why have not got an invitation yet?" I said, "Father, you would have said no like all the other priests because they're not ready to bless my marriage." He said, "I'm coming, you don't need to worry." And then he calls me back and he tells me, "You know what? When two pure souls like you walk down on that aisle, God is the only one who blesses your marriage. We are just the people there standing." And he came down from Chandigarh, he blessed my marriage in front of a congregation, and he was super proud of it. He said, "When I go back to heaven, this is the testimony I'm going to give. When people were not ready, I went and blessed them. And that is my entrance into heaven." The love that comes out has to be a whole love. And when I say whole love, I know that there is teaching of the church that says, "Oh, there's no problem with your gender orientation, but there is a problem with the act that you all do." And I think that is not a full acceptance. That is saying that we believe that Jesus has died, but that resurrection is still a doubt. So that's not full acceptance. The full acceptance only comes when you believe that he's died and he's resurrected. In the same way, the full acceptance comes that we are humans. Yes, we do have sexual needs. We need to adhere to that. And with that, we can have polygamy, monogamous partners as well. We can be loyal to people, our partners, and we can be there. The church is in a very slow process of changing, and I'm great that we are sitting here and doing this. But there are 3 important things that the church needs to do, and at urgent basis. 1, we need to have a separate ministry for LGBTIQ people. A ministry that talks about the youth that is coming forward today as LGBTIQ people. A voice that needs to heard. And as somebody yesterday mentioned, as Ruby said, that keep your mouth shut and your eyes and your ears open. We need to do that. The second most important thing that we need to do is that we need to train all our nuns and priests in a way of to be more inclusive in our own parish, and the brothers and the sisters that are going to be the next generation of understanding us. And the third very important is, I'm not saying we have to rewrite the Bible and rewrite the theology. We need to reread the Bible and we need to reread the theology and make love Christ available to all of us in a manner. The great commandment I give unto you, love one another as I have loved you. There is no male and female in this. That's it. Thank you.
Daniela, it's really very humbling experience listening to you. You have passed through a very difficult time, agonizing, very painful, that I would really appreciate that you have given your testimony, shared with us your painful experience, life journey. And there has been also some success in the process for this community that you have achieved. And I appreciate for this efforts. In the process, the Father who blessed also, I congratulate him. So this is a challenging task before us, my dear friends. I would see that what you have suggested is that we need to really think seriously and do something about it when we are planning for the pastoral care. So these suggestions that is coming and the group discussions that we had, many suggestions and many the paths that we are going to take up or the planning sessions that we are making, that would be very helpful, I would say. And the previous session also where Amita also suggested and they are involved, so many ways could be taken up. Thank you for sharing.
I am proud of you.
Thank you, sister.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring story, especially the way you began your presentation, sharing your story and the testimony of the God whom we believe. Really, it was so touching. So, blessing of the marriage, as you said, no, I am also the priestly formation. The priests always have the two sides in the sense what we as a, what to say, is a radical priesthood. So, we have always in the pastoral care, when it comes to pastoral care, so always a dilemma. We have a lot of rubrics and we have to follow what church speaks. So, we have our own opinions, convictions. At the same time, what the church tells us and teaches us, so we have to follow. So, always, how do you reconcile? How do you help us as we grow as a priest? How do you help us to reconcile these two, as in the pastoral prudence, the pastoral care?
The very fact that we have a radical pope, that's why this is happening. Reconciliation, what the church teaches and how we reconcile, we have to believe in the fact that we as a church killed Galileo because we believe that what he said was wrong, and today we apologize and ask forgiveness and give him a burial. In the same way, in the history of time when we move forward with a new generation, we will unbind new things, and that's what exactly Holy Spirit does. It guides us. If today we are all sitting here, this is the work of the Holy Spirit that has guided us to do that. And it will change. But when Mother Teresa started her journey with the leprosy home, people never gave. People didn't give her full. Or the biggest example of Mahir, when Sister Lucy started her journey, people never supported her. But today where she stands is where we all look up to. These small little steps take us to where we are seeing in India tomorrow. We may not live to see, when I say that, I may never live to see an equality marriage day. But this what we are doing today, 100 years down the line, somebody from this benefits, and tomorrow, maybe in history down the line, you'll have a transgender saint. Who knows? Yes.
Daniela, it's really been very touching, and it's a heart-moving experience what I had just as you were sharing, I was wondering, as you met the Holy Father, what was your interaction with him? What did you have a dialogue with him? I would be very happy to know.
So the dialogue, it was on a paper that came out with the Synod on LGBTIQ and family issues, and I was grateful to be chosen from India to go. And the dialogues that we had was mostly on what are the challenges. See, every country, from Africa, whether England or London, India, LGBTQ issues differ from one place to another. You cannot apply LGBTQ issues in India comparatively to America or to Pakistan or any other state. With Indian context, we see that the Muslim community in the Mughal era accepted the transgender community very closely. Because there are a lot of ayats, there are a lot of Sharia that talk in the rights of transgender people. And that's how Muslim community became like an attraction to a lot of community, because there was rights there were presenting of the rights. While in the Hindu community, yes, there are a lot of characters of LGBTQ community, right? We have the Shrikhandi, we have the Aravani Avtara, we have the Ayyappa God, we have the Mohini Avtara. So in a way, it was an inclusion. But somewhere, when Christianity mingled with Indian culture, and the sodomy law was put into place, we took away our grounds from the marginalized, and we only saw them as sinners in capital letters. We only saw them as sinners. So the concept of India needs to change, because religion, and that's what we spoke to Holy Father, that religion in every culture has combined. Today we see Jesus in dhoti, right? We see Jesus as an Indian form of dhoti. And we also see other cultures, like when you go to Tamil Nadu, when you go to Gujarat, you will see the bhajans are sung not like hymns, like a proper bhajans, and then you have their own rituals of matka and all that stuff. In the same way, gender of diverse people in India needs to mingle like the sugar mingles in the tea of religion, so that it tastes more sweeter and more better.
There is Sister
Prema.
Please pass me. Okay.
Yeah, mine is not actually a question to her, but I just want to say, since an intersex person is speaking, this month is for intersex.
Intersex Awareness Month.
Yeah,
Yes.
Awareness Month, because she was so excited with her own stories and she has just overlooked it. And second thing I want to say, we cannot say today church is not open. Pope is open. Who is not open? That's a big question to ask ourselves. And the third thing I want to say about the marriage laws and things of marriage, blessing of the marriage, lot of controversies went on, lot of opinions were spread. But someone, a wise person asked me, Sister Prema, we can bless a car, we can bless our buildings, we can bless everything, but why not people? So with that, I think our blessing of the marriage should end. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great appreciation, Daniela, for you. And there was so much of, intake. Everyone were pin drop silence, listening to you so keenly. And such a way you moved us. And I think it is something to do in further. There is always a place for renewal in the church. I think this synodal is going to bring a lot of change, newness in the church to accept everyone as they are. So we look forward for a better future for all of us to live in this planet Earth.
Yes.
Everyone has a right to live, and we all has a right to live. Thank you so much for your sharing.
Hello. This is Gargi. Proud to hear about your successful story. I have two questions for you. One is this: according to glimpse of your eye, who do you identify as a transgender? And the second question is, who do you admire the most in your life? Who has filled your gaps of the life? Whether the Hijra community or the people who came across your life, or your partner, or others who are there.
So for me, a trans person is somebody who's biologically born male or female, and then chooses to be what they want to be according to their preferences, whether a trans woman or a trans man. That is simple as that, and there is no controversy, I think, around that. And an intersex person is a person who's born intersex, but they can choose after a adolescent age whether they want to be an intersex man, whether they want to be a woman, or whether they want to be a non-binary person. I think the most person I admire in my life is being very honest, is my husband. And when I say that, it means a lot, because he accepted me in front of the whole society. And Father Dominic knows that. We come to church together, we sit together, we are always together in whatever we do. He's an heterosexual person, he's not a trans man, or he's a heterosexual person, always dated women, but there was something that just went about us, and that was an inclination that we wanted to get married together, and now 2 years togetherness. He has, with his family, with my in-laws, he has always been open, with open arms, with open hearts. He accepted me the way I am, and not a single day has been that I have not felt loved the way he loves me. It was a true acceptance, and I cannot lie. And after him, if I really think somebody, I look upon to Jesus. I give him a second preference in my life, because I think he's my second husband. And when I say that, and it is because when I look at the cross, and as a transgender person, we all here, and as lesbian, gays, bisexual, for how much we went through, when I look at the cross and I say to him, is my pain worth it in front of your pain that you went on the cross? That is the only question I ask myself, and the answer every time is no. Nobody can go to the pain as much as he went on that cross. And if he has given us the pain, he has also given us the strength to survive back. to give back to the society. And the transgender community and the lesbian, gays, bisexual present here, I will say that on your behalf, that irrespective of society what does to us, we have a huge heart toward the society and we love you much back than the more the hate you gave us.
Daniela, I love you. I love you. And I see the power of God has worked tremendously in your life. In every suffering He has been with you, therefore you are empowered today. I want to ask you one question. You are such a powerful woman and you have a bright future. Is there any possibility to educate transgender children when they are young? Because my sisters are working with them in Bangalore. They are finding very difficult to take them away from this begging. In their young age, I told them in their young, I am ready to even build a house for them. But it's not possible. Can you do something for them?
Sister, first of all, there is no term in the dictionary as transgender children. They are always non-conforming children or intersex children, because once they are the age of 16 to 18, they identify themselves of who they want to be, and that's how they call themselves to be male, female, or non-binary. There is one thing that we need to recognize, this forum has not recognized, and I don't want to go into the deeper, that there is discrimination within the LGBT community, within the LGBTIQ folks. And the transgender politics is a completely different topic to discuss about, and I don't want to get into that. My transgender people are already laughing there. But there is a powerful culture, and to break that, it will take its own time to change, and people from the community can only do it. Because there is no place for outsiders to go into that community and do it. We also have to recognize that in the 21st century, there have been pilots, doctors, teachers, engineers. We have broke all barriers. And unless and until parents, which is a very important part of the transgender community, are not trained on accepting children, because we still have the blue and the pink color. The blue is for the boys and the pink is for the girls. We are not even get out of the color yet. So unless and until that education doesn't start from our school, and that's where the churches are needed, right? We have an entire education. We are a minority, but we give out the majority of education out to the world. Unless and until we don't start those conversations within our schools, within our parents' group in school, within our PTA meetings, I think that change is a little time to come. But this is the need of the hour, to teach our parents and our students, and teach them that sex is not just male and female, but sex is the art that God has created, which is beyond male and female. Ruby.
So I just wanted to make a comment, so it's not a question. It's an observation. First of all, thank you so much. I was sitting there rapt with attention, speechless. My heart was racing to hear a really powerful person giving a testimony. And what really struck me was how amazing your resilience was, just the strength within you, despite everything. And I'm pleased that you don't share the detail of what happens in life, because that's private. That's yours, not to be shared by us. But you nevertheless tell us how painful the process was. And what strikes me is how resilient you are, how clear you are on how faith was your salvation, was your strength, your rock. And I know that the Pope is wonderful, but he's not going to be here forever. And we please God that the next Pope is as welcoming and inclusive as he is. And I have to say he, because the Pope is going to be a he, sadly. We're not going to get a female Pope, although we had one. We did have one, yes. So the point I'm trying to make is that you, people like you, are the ones who break down the barriers. You're the kind of person who leads the way. You're the kind of person who, generation after generation, we benefit from by being on the shoulders of giants. And I just wanted to say that you are the giant in this world, and we will follow and be impressed and, move on by what you do. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Since there's instructions, so we'll wind up. I'm sorry, some of the hands up, but all the same, maybe you can meet 10 in so you can do.
We thank Father Dominic and Daniela for their valuable insights. Thank you very much. Now we will have a short break and we will gather back at 5 p.m. sharp for the next session. Thank you.
Just one comment I want to make before we move. As we were planning for this conference and different sessions, okay, Anjana only put me in, Sister Anjana, who was one of the MCs yesterday, put me in contact with Daniela, and we have had several kind of conversations over the phone. And last month when I went for a meeting there, I happened to meet her, then introduced her to Nita and so on. Then Daniel also put me in contact with Father Dominic. Then I talked to him and I asked him, by all means, you also should come here. The comment that I would like to make is, parish priest and parishioner are here before us. Okay? And by all means, I wanted for Dominic to chair this session. There was somebody, so I said, no, it should be for Dominic. So we shifted Daniela's session from yesterday to today. There was some technical details, plus I wanted him to be here because being Sunday, he was there in Wasai. So I personally also thank for Dominic and Daniela for this. Thanks Dominic for coming. Okay, thank you.